Hey everybody, Ben Frederickson here alongside Jeff Gordon talking Cardinals baseball on this edition of Inside Pitch. I thought Fredbird was making his way to his feet. The Cardinals salvage what could have been a disaster in London. They're starting to win more games than they lose. They got a chance against the Astros to take a series in 2 games. Gordo, the bottom, drops out again. It's now 25 blown leads for the Cardinals so far this season with a good chunk of games to go before the All-Star break. I mentioned that number 25 because the Cardinals blew 26 leads all of last season over the course of their 162-game season. Those were the first-place Cardinals. These are the last-place Cardinals. It's a corrosive effect on a team when it can't finish out games in which it has a lead. This time it's Giovanni Gallegos. And not to knock on Ali Marmol, but I got to say, Gordo, when Giovanni Gallegos lets off that home run to Altuve, everybody in the stadium seemed to know that more bad things were going to come if they didn't get him out of the game. It became the 3rd time this season that Gallegos has allowed multiple homers in an appearance, and it took the Cardinals from 1 run behind to completely and totally out of the game. Now, who knows that another Cardinals reliever wouldn't have had the same effect. What do you make of this inability to just finish games? We talked so much about the rotation and how poor it is, but it's also the bullpen and their inability to take care of a lead when they're handed one.
Yeah, this continues to be everything. I mean, this is just a team that's 3 months of losing baseball, and this is the latest problem. I'll go back to my constant plea for a team to have, besides a 6-man rotation instead of 5, to always have 6 guys that you like.
Air quotes, 6-man rotation.
But to have 6 guys you like. You need to have 6 guys. The way the game is played now, the way managers want to bring a good reliever into a situation in the middle of a game where it may be decided, that's great if you've got 6 high-leverage guys. 6 guys you can trust in all scenarios. That should always be your goal because the way the game is managed today, managers go to that bullpen early. They want to be able to go late. They want to get matchups at every point in the game. And are the Cardinals anywhere near 6 high-leverage guys? Yeah, on a good day this year, maybe they got up to 2 at a time, maybe.
Well, the one guy who's been pitching better is a guy who was on the cusp of losing his spot on the team earlier this season. Jordan Hicks is now their most reliable reliever. And everybody wants to now pile on Gallegos. I get it. The thing with Gallegos is once it trends bad fast. And as soon as something goes bad, you almost have to get him out. One of their best relievers, Ryan Helsley, is hurt, but he's been one of their most unreliable in high-pressure situations at times. So they've got guys who perform well, but when the stakes go up, the Cardinals' bullpen seems to wobble, and that's been a huge problem for this team, among other things. We got to focus on the bullpen a little bit, though, because we've talked so much about the rotation. And here's the other thing, Gordo. I'm writing about this for STLtoday.com. The Reds have a bad rotation. They actually have some worse rotational numbers in their starting pitching staff than the Cardinals, yet they're starting to look like they may be the team that emerges from the Central. One of the pure reasons why, they find a way to win close games more times than not, and they don't fracture when they have leads, and if they do, they come back. The Cardinals have to do a better job of finding some way to protect leads once they get them. The offense is actually playing pretty well. They're providing some decent numbers, but the bottom just keeps dropping out, and too often it's from a bullpen that just isn't good enough.
Well, the one thing that every general manager will say is, hey, the relief market's extremely unpredictable. There's massive fluctuation from year to year to year for even the best relievers. So many times they're up and down, The Astros are feeling that themselves this year. However, we also know that the Cardinals have traditionally underpaid, underspent in that area. They've had a few big purchases that haven't gone well in the bullpen, but there is a tendency in this franchise in their recent history to fail to invest enough in the bullpen. I mean, and you just try to cut a corner there. Can't cut a corner anymore. You got to have 6 guys that you really like. Some of them will be young, some will be more proven. Got to have them. You can't go without them, and you're seeing why.
And some of the investments haven't worked out. That's another part of it.
Yeah, and they've had some, but that's no excuse to stop investing.
Yeah, right now some of those spots you mentioned, one of them is being kept by Drew Verhagen, who has become the Cardinals' human version of the white flag. And the other is Steven Matz, a guy the Cardinals insisted was a starter, and now they clearly can't let him continue to start, so they've said, well, now he's a reliever. You have to have a bullpen that you feel confident in. You can't have guys in there that represent, the guy you send out when you know a game has gone against you. And then I think sometimes they don't properly evaluate guys, too. I think there's a bit of that going on this season. Jake Woodford has pitched well at times, but can't seem to get much forward traction in terms of role. And then there's a guy who was actually pitching okay for them, Zach Thompson, who they plucked out of this thing early in the season, and they sent him to Memphis and said, you got to be a starter now. Well, he's not performing well as a starter. He had actually changed and kind of bought into life as a major league reliever, and I think he had some real upside there, and now he's out of the picture entirely. So some wrong buttons pressed, some wrong levers pulled, and meanwhile the trapdoor continues to fall out from beneath the Cardinals. We'll see if they can pick themselves up again after a heartbreak against the Astros. They still could win this series before the Yankees come into town. And then those pesky Marlins are playing pretty well up next. But they got to find a way to stop the trapdoor from opening, and a lot of that's going to come down with picking the right guys out of the bullpen at the right time. Hey, for Jeff Gordon, I'm Ben Frederickson. Keep it locked at stltoday.com for all of your Cardinals coverage, and we'll talk to you next time.